Thank you for joining us. This recording was captured live at the 2026 NRB conference. While there may be a few moments where the audio isn't perfect, we're excited to share these great insights and discussions with you.
All right, folks, here we are at NRB again, and my good friend Brad Dacus, who is the founder and probably president and chairman, the head of Pacific Justice Institute, one of the most important nonprofit law firms out there that's defending civil liberty, religious liberty, freedom of speech, parental rights, and other things in America today. Brad, thanks for coming on Truth and Liberty.
Oh, it's great to be on the program. Thank you.
Yeah, so what's going on, brother? How are things out there in the fight in the legal world?
Oh, it's going fantastic. Now, on one side, we have horrific, outrageous things that government's doing in terms of religious freedom, attacking parents' rights, whether it's school districts or social workers. Zealous states like California and New York, they're trying to shut down pro-life clinics. Really evil things. But on the flip side, we're seeing incredible victories like never before.
Yeah.
And part of that is because we're having a revival in our nation.
Yeah.
It's in the youth. Gen Zs go to church more often now than millennials, Gen Xers, or even baby boomers.
That's amazing.
So
Who would have expected that?
I know it's been going on for about a year.
Yeah.
And Bible sales are up. Young people joining churches are just going up. Young males in particular. God's moving in incredible ways spiritually, but also legally.
Yeah.
So we have the best Supreme Court in my lifetime, if not in U.S. history, in terms of free speech, religious freedom, sanctity of human life, parents' rights.
Wow.
And we're seeing incredible, unbelievable decisions coming down that I would have given my life for a number of them. That's how significant they are. And yet, we're continuing to see those victories. Pacific Justice, we have over 140 cases in active litigation. And the last 2 years, we've had a better than a 90% success rate in resolved cases. 2 years running now.
That's amazing.
We've been around for almost 30 years. We've never seen those kind of results.
Yeah.
And our cases are more aggressive than ever. They're across the nation. And I'm very excited moving forward to see things moving in a very positive way.
Yeah. So tell us, PJI, you've got 37 offices across America. You told me before we started more on the East Coast than the West, even though you started on the West Coast.
Yeah. It's unusual. We didn't plan it that way. In fact, I never planned to go outside of California.
Yeah.
I thought everyone knows that's enough to keep me busy for a lifetime, right? But then we started having cases in Oregon, and then Washington, and then it just kept moving.
Yeah.
And we kept filling those voids with attorneys and offices. And so we've been doing that, and now we're in Boston and Miami and Seattle and Hawaii and Houston, everywhere in between, Chicago. We're all over the country.
Well, Brad, during the Obama years and then especially the Biden years, the woke onslaught against freedom of religion and freedom of speech with the government, FBI, getting social media companies to actually silence speech online, the whole abuse of the justice system and everything. Do you think those days are behind us as a country, or is it dangerous to think that? Should we be more vigilant in that?
We still need to be vigilant. And part of it is because also of new technology, AI. And mind you, I'm not an expert in technology. I still want to say A1, like the steak sauce. Okay, So I'm trying to get it in my head. No, it's AI. Okay, so that shows you where I'm at. Maybe I'm not quite that bad, but there's a lot we need to learn and we need to stay up with. At the same time, I do see a major positive shift with the Trump administration. Not a mild shift. If we had some other Republican presidents in the past, it might have been a mild shift, if much shift at all.
Yeah.
Frankly.
Yeah.
But this president says what he means what he says, and the Department of Justice is going full force against crime in whatever manifestation, and also in its defense for religious freedom, people of faith. President Trump is the most pro-religious freedom president probably in this century.
Wow.
or in the last century as well.
Yeah.
So we're very encouraged by that. Some people say, well, I don't worship him. I don't worship him either. I worship Jesus. But I do want to give credit when it's due. And we see real, significant results for our freedoms and our liberties, particularly for people of faith, people or parents, churches, synagogues. We're seeing great track, both in terms of the courts, in terms of the Department of Justice, court appointees, Department of Justice, even the FBI. We're seeing positive moves. Just a little over a year ago, if the FBI were to knock on my door, I would have been petrified. Petrified. Not because I've done anything wrong, but because of who their head person was and what their agenda was, which was to go after, badger, and attack Christians, religious institutions. That's changed. It's a new ball game.
New ball game.
Completely new ball game, and we're winning this game. And hopefully, we're getting close to the ninth inning.
Yeah, hopefully so. Well, so what are some of the most significant precedents or Supreme Court cases in the last couple of years?
Oh, I love that question. So, and there's so many. Of course, we know the reversal of Roe versus Wade. That was monumental.
Yeah.
And that shifted it back to the states, and we're working with our legislative office. We have a litigation division, we have a legislative division to take advantage of that to support pro-life legislation in states across the country, as well as pro-family and pro-religious freedom as well. In addition to Roe versus Wade being overturned, we had 3 decisions come down from the Supreme Court, many people aren't even aware of. And they were just summer before last, I believe, that greatly limited the tyranny of bureaucrats.
Okay.
In huge ways.
The deep state.
The deep state.
Yeah.
In historic ways. So in the past, an agency could say, you're violating our bureaucratic regulations.
Yeah.
And so we're going to give you a hearing. No, you don't get to go to court. We have our own little hearing process. And by the way, we are our own judge. We're our own jury.
And we don't follow the rules of evidence.
We don't follow the rules of evidence. And you don't get to have an attorney. Guilty. Pay $50,000. That's the tyranny that we had. It was started pretty much by President Woodrow Wilson.
Yeah.
He's the one that started the bureaucratic tyranny and escaping the principles of the Constitution. So they were doing that. They were forcing people to pay money. They want to get a permit to build a house. They say, yeah, you can do that. But we also want you to charge you a $100,000 fee to help with this highway over here. That has nothing to do with your home.
Yeah.
So this is the kind of tyranny that came to a halt. And now you're entitled to take your action in federal court.
Okay.
And the bureaucrats have to defend themselves. And the bureaucrats don't have unlimited, in the past they say, well, you have just a limited amount of time to challenge something as unconstitutional. So if you get impacted, and this regulation has been around for, say, 5 years, and they try to put it against you, say this is unconstitutional, they'd say, oh, it's too late. You can't challenge it. It's already been around for whatever, a year, so it's too bad.
Oh my goodness.
Supreme Court said, no, you're never free from constitutional scrutiny.
Yeah.
You do not have your own jury. You cannot just randomly put fines and fees against people, and permits, fees against people. It was a huge game changer, and people say, well, why am I talking about it?
Yeah.
In reality, it was a major shift against tyranny that impacts religious freedom, churches, and everyone in society. So it was a big victory.
Is that the same case that overturned the infamous Chevron decision?
Yes.
It's the same one. Okay, yeah.
That's one of the 3 cases, is the one that overturned the Chevron.
Okay.
So which basically Chevron said, so long as something's sort of related to a statute, bureaucrats, if you can just sort of rationally affiliate it in some way with the statute giving you authority to do something, have at it. Come up with your own rules, your own regulations, your own laws, basically.
Yeah.
That was
the experts.
You're the experts. That was Chevron. That went back to Woodrow Wilson once again. The Supreme Court had changed that and said, no, bureaucrats, you can only do what Congress specifically gave you direct authority to do, no more than that.
That's amazing.
And it's fantastic. These victories happen, and I want to remind people, because of President Trump's appointments to the Supreme Court during his first term. Yeah. His appointments in his second term are also going to be very important as we continue to progress and take back and defend our Constitution in tremendous ways.
Do you anticipate any vacancies on the Supreme Court in the next couple of years?
Yes, I do.
Anything before the 2026 election?
Yes, quite possibly. Okay. And here's why. There's 3 justices I'm looking at. 2 of the 3 actually I like. Thomas and Alito. They're my favorite justices on the Supreme Court. Mm-hmm. But they're also getting up there in age. Looking at their body mass index, to be politically correct, I'll use that term. I'm not sure how healthy they are. I was afraid for Scalia when he was on the court. I had people actually stopped at one of my shows and just asked people and led them in praying for Scalia, because I was concerned about his health. And he passed away. I'm somewhat concerned about Alito and Thomas for health reasons, but also I know, and they know, they're getting up there in age. They're smart enough to not want to risk them being replaced with someone, say in 2028, that may not believe the way they do. So I think one or both of them, there's a good chance one or both of them may step down at the end of this term. Now, they may speculate and say, look, the odds are very high that Republicans are going to keep the Senate. If they do, we can stay on until 2028 and then step off, right before the changing of the guard there, not risk the election. I'm not sure what's going on in their mind, but I predict that one or both of them will resign. Both of them, I think, will resign by the 2028 presidential election because they're their heart to preserve the Constitution. Now, the other one, the third one, is Justice Sotomayor. She is one of the 2 most incompetent justices, not just in error in terms of understanding of the Constitution or lack of understanding of the Constitution. She's actually very incompetent. The latest Justice Jackson Brown, she's also very incompetent and unqualified to be on the court, in my opinion. But Sotomayor has a number of statistically relevant medical factors, physical factors that could compel her one way or the other to step down or not be on the court. I do not want anything to happen to her.
No, of course.
I think people should pray for her and for her spiritually, academically, and also for her health. But she is someone who has statistically a very good chance of not being on the court by the end of 2028, after the 2028 election.
Well, so what's happening in the realm of education, legally in the courts, and specifically parental rights? Because we know that there's secret recruiting and grooming, and there's hiding this from parents and all kinds of stuff. We had a case last year, Mahmoud versus Taylor. But what's going on the ground too?
So it was a great decision. As you know, the Supreme Court basically said parents have a right not just to opt their kids out of sex education. Parents can opt their kids out of any garbage, any curriculum, any outside speaker program that violates their religious or moral beliefs for their child. Huge game changer. It was an atomic bomb on the side in favor of parental rights. So we rewrote our opt-out forms. On the ground level here. We have them customized for all 50 states. We rewrote them to expand upon the powers given under that decision for the rights of parents. And I think we're going to see parents across the country utilizing those opt-out forms. As they do, school districts are going to be in a very difficult situation because they're going to have to accommodate those parents' kids. The more parents that opt out, the more efforts it's going to be needed, and the more pressure for them to change their curriculum and not be bigoted and exclusive to the radical LGBTQ leftist agenda.
So Mahmoud v. Taylor was a case where the Maryland school was using LGBT books, right? And this was pretty young kids, I think, if I remember correctly, pro-LGBT content, and the parents said, we don't like this, we want to take our kids out. They said, you can't. We, the state, get to control the education. You're just the over here inconvenient truth. And eventually, they lost the district court, lost the Court of Appeals, eventually won at the U.S. Supreme Court. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay.
And it was a great decision.
So what's this about opt-out forms? You actually make these available to the public so folks can go to your website?
They're on our website, and we've customized them for all 50 states.
Oh, wow.
Not just looking at federal. I know some groups out there in good, with good intentions came up with a generic one based on federal statute and the Constitution and Mahmoud case. Fine, but we look at the state statutes as well.
Okay.
Because some state statutes give you additional protection
Very
that
good.
the Constitution and federal law and doesn't provide. And even California has some gold nuggets of protection under state law that other states don't have for parents' rights.
Wow.
We utilize everything to the max. And when they use ours, they've got the maximum protection. And we're fighting against retribution against families. Like our big victory we had in Texas just a few weeks ago.
Okay, tell me about that.
Here, a school district decided to use take retribution against the children when their parents spoke up and used their First Amendment rights of free speech to protest horrific things the superintendent was doing, like canceling graduation ceremony altogether and manipulating the grades of kids whose parents were upset and speaking out against him canceling the graduation ceremony. It was the guy was just brutal, just a tyrant, an absolute tyrant. And we took on that case, and we got a judgment of $7.5 million against not just the school district, most of it was against the superintendent in his personal capacity.
Oh, gosh.
His individual capacity. Huge case, huge judgment. He also had parents illegally, forcibly removed from public meetings. It was awful.
Wow.
But the victory was huge, and it sent a loud signal to school districts across America that if you try to use retribution against children in the future, you can expect Pacific Justice Institute to bring you to court and to bring you down.
Yeah.
Just like we did that school district north of Waco, Texas.
Wow, that's exciting. So what do you see ahead in the arena of school prayer or maybe Bible reading in schools? Are we going to, do we have any hope or realistic chance of undoing those infamous 1965 cases? There's another one in 1980 about 10 Commandments and stuff. But
well, let me talk about
is that on the agenda?
Let me talk about the 10 Commandments.
All right.
So we at Pacific Justice, I personally testified before the state legislature in Texas. I was brought in, I flew in, and in support of legislation to allow 10 Commandments to be displayed in Texas, as well as in Louisiana. We had someone there testify. Those states have adopted it. Other states are adopting the 10 Commandments. It's being challenged. We'll see what the Supreme Court decides. But this is a statement of our history, our heritage. It's like when you read Greek mythology, it's not like the school saying you need to believe this to be able to appreciate the history and heritage of Greek mythology.
Yeah.
Which was once a religion. In the same way, posting the origins of Western civilization is not a dictate that you have to religiously adopt and believe something just to be able to understand it.
Yeah.
So we're pushing that. Chaplains in public schools.
Okay.
People say, oh, you can't do that. Well, guess what? I testified before the Texas legislature, and we got that adopted in Texas as law. So every school district that wants a state-paid public school chaplain can have it, and it's chosen by the school board, and it has to go through a vetting through a private National Chaplains Association that we're part of. So it's a fantastic tool to help protect kids. Schools that in Puerto Rico and other countries that have adopted this, their suicide rate in Puerto Rico went down to 0.
Wow.
Pregnancy rate went way down.
Wow.
Dropout rate way down.
Just by having a pastor there that the kids can access.
Yeah,
right?
and the chaplain is not going to be passing out gospel tracts, proselytizing. That's what chaplains do. Chaplains meet the needs of the child where they are, based upon the faith background of the child. But that's huge, especially in places like Texas, where so many kids have a religious background, and they do want to have someone to pray with them, and they do want to have someone to help encourage them when they are dealing with all kinds of feelings and of depression, guilt, etc., or fear.
Well, Brad, I just saw an article. It's probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, but it was on loneliness, amongst teens, and it was how it's skyrocketing. And then the article talks about, quoting all these social worker type people who want these government programs. We need more of this, more of that. And I wrote an article saying, no, we don't. We need to restore the family. We need to get dads back into homes. And
Yes.
Stop government programs that are destroying fatherhood and restoring biblical worldview about what a family is. And you'll take care of most of that.
Right.
I could have gone the religious liberty angle as well, but how important is what Pacific Justice is doing, in your opinion? How important is this to the revival and the great awakening that's also happening alongside of this? So,
Yeah.
are they totally different and unrelated?
No.
Or do they go together?
Oh, they go together big time, because Pacific Justice works to keep open those doors and windows of opportunity for the gospel and truth to go forward. In order to have revival, you have to have the ability for people to be able to live their faith, express their faith, to share their faith. And that doesn't happen when someone immediately is going to lose their job, when they're going to be immediately excluded from going to a college or into a med school, when they're going to be put behind bars for sharing their faith in a public park.
Yeah.
So we are working, in fact, we work side by side by other ministries like Turning Point USA, for example. 3 years ago, before Charlie Kirk passed, we pledged to be their legal arm, to defend every single one of their chapters without charge.
Oh, nice.
And they are a shining light on public universities and public high schools across America. We help another ministries like Decision Point, decisionpoint.org, wonderful ministry.
Yeah.
We've empowered them to do revival rallies. In Chicago, there were 23 high schools that said, no, you can't come here. Our lawyer in Chicago sent a demand letter to all 23 of those high schools. All 23 of them changed their mind.
Hey, how about that? That's
And we
awesome.
had revival outreach weeks for all 23 of them, and kids came forward to receive Jesus in those school gyms.
Tremendous. That is
So we're
exciting.
working aggressively with these ministries that are really taking advantage of the opportunity and the ripeness of the fields, if you will, with today's youth.
Yeah. So if someone's watching and they've got some concern about the rights being violated or what have you, how do they get in touch with you? How do they get help?
Yeah, they can go to our website, pji.org, pji.org. We also have an article on how to keep your child from being taken by social workers.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm just mentioning that because there's a high risk, no matter who you are, where you live, that a social worker can just come and take your child.
Yeah.
But parents who have this and utilize this article, 12 Steps to Protect Your Children, have a much better chance of not losing their children.
Oh wow.
And we do more work in this regard nationwide than any other organization in the country.
Yeah.
And we provide emergency counsel, but I encourage every single family should have this.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll have heard this before. Everyone should have this. Every family in America should have this if they don't want to risk having their child wrongfully taken from them.
Yeah.
And it's
all it takes is someone calling Child Protective Services or whatever, and they come and they have an immense amount of power.
Yeah.
And they'll put the parents in one room, go talk to your kid in private, and come out with, we're taking them.
exactly, and it happens every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
The thousands and thousands are taken every single
Oh my gosh,
every
it's
single
so
year.
wicked.
So
Brad, I wish we had more time. Love you, brother. And
likewise,
appreciate
love what you're
much
doing with Truth and Liberty.
Thank you.
I really respect you and your ministry, and
Thank you so much.
it's a real privilege to have this time. So thank you.
All right. Well, everybody go check out pji.org. It's one of the best out there, so you'll be glad you did.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Brad.